Welcome to another episode of What's Up with DJ. I'm your host, DJ. Each week, I bring you topics about current events, career development, finance, holistic living, life hacks, and stories of inspiration and humor, from a spiritual perspective. So be sure to subscribe, like, comment, or leave a review on Apple Podcast. Your thoughts, opinions, and comments are always encouraged and appreciated. With that being said, let's get right into the show. My guest this week is Emily McGill. Emily McGill is a tarot reader and a storytelling strategist. After nearly a decade and a half working in entertainment in New York City as a Broadway publicist and expert communications consultant, her path of self-exploration led to healing and evolution and reading tarot cards professionally. Invited to read tarot for virtual Burning Man 2021 and Brooklyn's Dry Speakeasy Club Curious, Emily has also been featured by the Tamron Hall Show, the New York Post, and Thrive Global. She writes playbills, Broadway horoscopes, and currently in development to create her own deck, the Broadway Tarot. Emily's passions are unlocking the magic in others, amplifying marginalized voices, offering platforms for open dialogue, and creating meaningful experiences while cultivating community. She is the founder of SNOB, that stands for Sunday Night on Broadway, a Broadway industry dance party, a founding member of PR collective Spiral 5, and a co-author of their signature course, The Career Rebel's Guide to Modern PR. With 20 Broadway credits, Emily has presented the Tony Award-winning productions of A Raisin in the Sun, starring Denzel Washington, Memphis, Billy Elliot, and Disney's The Lion King, plus Disney's Aladdin, Andrew Lloyd Webber's School of Rock, and Cats, George Takei's Allegiance, This Is Our Youth, Rock of Ages, Ghost, F, and First Date. Since her theater start, she's expanded out to other forms of entertainment, including music, film, TV, streaming, and worked with companies large and small, from Disney, HBO, and Amazon Studios to boutique talent agencies, internet startups, nonprofit, and string quartets. I mean, she is well-rounded. Plus male strippers. Yes, male strippers. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, DJ.
Yes, I think I'm trying to get my wind back. I mean,
it's a lot. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You have a long resume, and it's awesome. It's really great. You know, and I'm like I said, when I spoke to you for the first time, I was saying, I mean, every time I was reading about you, I wanted to know more because it just got more interesting and more interesting. I saw your interview on Tamron Hall Show. I saw you showcasing your SNOB party, and I saw that. I said, oh my God, she just has the life, and she's in New York.
I like to have a good time.
It definitely seems so.
Yeah.
It definitely seems so. So where are you from originally?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, born and raised. My whole family had been there for quite a long time. And so I fell in love with theater, and my parents put me in dancing school very young. And that was always sort of part of our lives, the arts and expression through music and dance and just creativity in general. And when I was 12, my brother and I came to New York for a dance competition. It was our first time here, and I just fell in love with this city. And I knew I would move here at some point in my life.
10
years later, I was here.
Oh, 10 years later. Wow.
Yeah.
When I first visited New York, I think it maybe was in 2004, I think it was. And it felt like I was coming home to something. You know, that's what it felt like. Like I had been there before, even though it was the first time I had been there. So it's an amazing city. And so what was that transition like from Pittsburgh to New York?
I always knew I was going to make it. Like I said, like that I was going to leave the place where I grew up to make a life somewhere else. I dreamed my whole life of working on Broadway, and there's only one place you can do that, which is in New York too,
New
right?
York,
So,
right.
you know, there was a very clear direction for me. It was always, I knew that I was going to, when I graduated from college, move to New York. It was just happening, whether anyone wanted me to or not. I didn't care. Like, this is what was happening in my life. And fortunately, I've had very supportive parents, and, you know, they were completely on board, and they loved coming up to visit, and, you know, but it was very much, I'm doing this. I have to do this. This is where I need to be. And when I first, you know, when I was younger, I didn't know you could have a job on Broadway that was like not on stage or backstage. You know, I didn't realize there's a whole ecosystem of careers available, from management to, you know, working in marketing and advertising, to the publicity offices, to, you know, the law offices. I mean, there's just so much different opportunity that you can find, but only if you know it's there.
Right.
And I didn't know it was there until after I moved to New York.
So was that the intention initially moving to New York, was I'm going to work behind the scenes, or was it, you know, you wanted to work in front?
My brother had a really interesting journey, booking his first Broadway show when he was a junior in high school, and moved to New York and basically lived here when he was 17 years old, figuring it out. And I saw his experience, you know, as secondary, thinking that this show was going to run, and they win the Tony Award, and they announced closing 3 weeks later. And I didn't understand like how that could happen, but I knew that I didn't want to eat cottage cheese for dinner because my Broadway show closed, you know? So, I knew before I moved here that I didn't want to be on stage, because I had a lot of super talented friends that, like, they weren't really getting cast in things. And why would I want to put myself in that position of that rejection when I could be on the other side, like helping people have jobs and talk about things. So I knew really early that I wanted to be on the business side of the business, but I didn't really know how you do that. And I also, you know, did love being on stage and performing. So I did audition for a year when I first moved here. I was, you know, going to lots of auditions, and I would get to the final callbacks. It would be like me and someone else. The other person always got the job, because I don't think I actually wanted it. You know? Or I didn't, maybe I think I didn't deserve it at the time. But I started interning in a producer's office. My very first Broadway show I worked on was Legally Blonde, the musical. I was an intern in their office, and I loved everything about it. I loved learning about what the different terms were. You know, the language and the vernacular, I loved learning. You know, the politics and the relationships, and like seeing who likes who and who doesn't, and how all that works. And so it became really fascinating for me to sort of see that aspect of it. And I worked in internships in lots of different types of offices, but ultimately found myself in a publicity office. And I really loved what I saw happening around the press agents and publicists, and how they were getting stories out in the world, and also helping make things happen. You know, if a Broadway show is performing on Good Morning America, there's a lot that goes into making sure that happens. And so seeing how all of that worked too was really interesting. So I loved it for a really long time, and until I didn't.
So what happened where it came to the place where you didn't love it so much?
Well, after I had been doing it for a couple of years, my boss closed down the company and I went to a different company. And I was there for about 9 months, which was hugely formative for me and like really a huge growth spurt. And then from there, ended up going to a more traditional PR agency, somebody that did, Delta and W Hotels and Princess Cruises and things like that. And so it was not the background and the experience and the sort of work that I wanted to be doing, but I felt like it was going to be a hugely educational experience, which it was. And I thoroughly enjoyed it for about the first year and a half. And then the second year and a half, it was less enjoyable. And I was like, I need to get back to theater. I need to get back to the thing that I love. And I had this conversation recently with someone. We were talking, they were telling me that their first love is music. They work in Broadway. And they were like, I had to leave the music industry because I couldn't enjoy a concert anymore. Because I knew too much about what it took to make it happen.
Yeah.
And she was like, now I work in an adjacent industry that I love, but that is not like my avocation. It's my vocation. And I was like, oh, that's so powerful to me to be able to say, I have an avocation, but I'm going to choose to do this other thing for work. Because I don't have that ability. Like if I'm not happy, if I'm not called to do something, if I don't feel like it's a natural need of expression for myself, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. When that cup is empty, it's like, you feel tired thinking about doing the thing that it may bring you, a check. But you just get tired, like, I don't want to do this. And I think guilt, many things just show up. I'm telling you from natural experience. You're just like, oh my God, I really thought this is, and for me, I think it was, I initially felt as though in the beginning, this was what I should be doing. And for the years I did it. And then just you get to a place where you just go, okay, well, that was nice for that time period. Now it's time to gravitate to something else, that's more meaningful, that really uses my innate skills, and that I should be figuring out how to express, figuring out how to bring forward. And then I always say that the Oprah thing where, I think everybody likes that idea of the thing that your spiritual calling sort of gives you meets all your needs, right? And that's what I think is what everybody would love to experience, where when I'm just doing the thing that I love to do, and it's, where everyone enjoys when I do it. And it also brings me necessary means to my ends. Yes. And I think it's what we're all sort of searching for, and we're trying to get to. And so what was that thing for you?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think that thing changes, right? So for so long, like I had this singular ambition of working on Broadway, and I did that, and I did it. I've done it for almost 15 years. You know what I mean? I've been working in all kinds of different capacities, whether I was a publicist directly on a show or working with them in a different way. At companies like Disney and on big shows starring people, like you said, like Denzel Washington, but then also working in like these teeny little off Broadway things or developmental concerts. And during the summer of 2020, we were, the racial reckoning that has come to America has also hit Broadway, thankfully. And so a lot of the things that I was publicizing were marches and rallies and people coming out and saying like, this is not okay. This is what we need to do. Or marginalized artists have been, I created a pro bono practice to help marginalized artists amplify their messages, because a lot of folks don't have access to these resources. Right. And so if I can, help them write a press release, get it out to my list, and then connect them directly with anyone who's interested in writing about them, like that felt like something directly that I could do, an impact that I could make to help amplify artists. But I don't get lit up by PR anymore. I'm not interested in trying to get a story placed in a media outlet anymore. That's not fun for me. And so it's interesting to see how that sort of evolution happens over time, because there was a time when where I was like such a rush, so exciting to get that placement. And then to do all of the legwork to make it happen. But now I'm just finding that unless it's something that I, like you said, really deeply connect and resonate with,
why bother?
I can't get behind it. And I think the pandemic has been that opportunity for a lot of people to re-examine what actually lights us up, what actually makes us, feel good. And like the tarot is a big part of that. It's something that I started years ago. I had gone to therapy when my grandma passed away. And from that time, my therapist would like pull a card every now and again. She would have me pull something.
Oh, wow.
If I didn't know what direction to take something, or like wasn't sure where I'd go. And then when I was looking for a daily practice, she suggested that I introduce tarot. And so I downloaded an app and I started, tapping on that app every day and pulling a card. And before I knew it, I kind of really had a sense of that particular deck. And shortly before the pandemic hit, I was gifted.
And which deck did she use?
So she has tons of them, but we oftentimes would use the Osho Zen Tarot deck. Okay. Which is also the app that I then downloaded and started with. But that was the one that usually she would use with me in sessions.
So what's your favorite now?
My favorite is actually a vintage deck that was gifted to me that belonged to one of my grandmother's best friends, who was an aunt by affection, if you will. So we always called her Aunt Ginny, but we were not related. And her daughter, my Aunt Heidi, also not related, but still Aunt Heidi, gifted me just before the holidays last year, a deck that had belonged to her mom in the 70s. And so that's my favorite. And it's a French deck, which means it just it's more like a deck of playing cards in like the imagery. There's not as much, it's not as illustrative as some of the other tarot decks that you'll see on the market. So it's a little more challenging to use as you're learning. You constantly feel like you're like looking stuff up when you're kind of learning the decks and you don't have the imagery to go off of. So when it comes to like the imagery decks, my two favorites are the Wild Unknown, which is a pretty popular deck that uses animal imagery and is really beautiful. And then the one that we'll use today, called the Fountain Tarot, which is
because I'm going to be getting a reading today.
That's right.
And so it sounds like to me that like you said earlier, that the pandemic that we're still going through, never ending, that it gave you time to sort of look at, okay, what are my spiritual gifts? I know what I don't want. What do I want? And I want to, get spiritually connected. So you found something that allows you to feel spiritually connected, that you enjoy doing, and you can help others also. So it sort of checks a lot of the boxes, right? Absolutely.
Because to me, the tarot is an external or a visual or a physical representation outside of you of information that you hold within yourself. So whether you hold it in your heart or your gut, the information's already there. You already know this. It just hasn't made it up to your head yet. So you have like that translation hasn't happened. And so I almost like to say that it's like texting yourself a meme, right? Because it's imagery. It's an image. So it's like a meme that you're going to see this image, and it relays something to you in a way that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to compute. And that's what I love about the tarot.
Well, I would love to have a reading. And before we start do the reading, I actually I have the Rider tarot cards.
Rider Waite Smith. Yes.
Yes, I have those ones. And every once in a while I'll pull out my deck, and I always do like a past, present, future reading for myself. You know, I haven't done one in a long while. It's been a while since I've done it, but I don't know why. But usually I'll do that. Or I have a friend. She loves tarot as well. I have a few friends who love tarot.
Yes.
But yeah, exactly. So this is definitely you know, right up my alley in terms of how people can utilize this system, and another tool in the toolbox to get connected. And it always centers me and focuses me whenever I do one for myself, you know, but sometimes I can overanalyze things too.
Sure.
So, you know,
absolutely,
so
we all can. And it's Aquarius season now, and Mercury's in retrograde. So certainly I'm sure everyone is, you know, this week in January that we're taping this is probably overthinking something in their life.
Well, let's start. Let's do one now.
Amazing. So I'm going to shuffle. It might be a little loud, but I want you to think about if there's, and you might already know the answer to this, if there's something particular that you want to explore today.
Let's explore career.
All right. So I'm going to give these a few shuffles. And is there anything in particular that you want to look at with your career, or is this more of a general thing? Like, do we think?
You know what? Instead of career, let's think about relationship. That's what. Yeah, I had a good conversation with someone last night, and I thought, you know what? And actually, I was having a conversation about a relationship, and I had said the word 2 times. I was reading his intro. I'm like, I think I read the word 2 times. I'm like, I think that means something. So so relationship, and you know, I haven't dated anyone in a long time. So specifically, I think just when I'm going to date again, I'm going to meet somebody special.
All right. So let's do a 3-card spread that I like. It's called What Will Help You, What Will Hinder You, and What is Your Untapped or Your Unrealized Potential. Okay. And this is one you can do for yourself too, you know, with your cards that you have. And, you know, and folks, you could do tarot readings all over the place. You know, there are lots of websites that you can find that are like, we'll do a tarot reading right there for you on the website. You know, sort of random generator. So, you know, I think that this is a spread you could try. Sometimes I start these and then I'm like, oh no, that one actually was past, present, future. Or that one actually was insert other sort of spread here, right? Sometimes that happens. But we're going to start with this. What will help you? What will hinder you? And what's your untapped potential to begin with? So I'm just going to give this one more shuffle. Okay. One more after this. And then you're going to cut the deck. And so by that, I'm going to flip through these cards and you are going to tell me when to stop. Okay. Ready? Uh-huh. Stop. All right. Okay, so this first card that we're going to pull, this is what's going to help you. Okay. And so whether this is, you know, maybe this is relationship, maybe this is dating, maybe this is career, maybe this is all of the above, maybe this is none of the above. Okay. Right? So we'll see sort of where this resonates for you. Okay. And so this is the Ace of Cups. Okay. Ace of Cups, you said? Ace of Cups, yes. Okay. And so for those that aren't familiar with the tarot, there are 2 parts of the deck, right? The major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana are our magic cards. When they show up, we want to pay special attention. There are 22 of them, and they correspond to the human soul's evolutionary journey. So we start with the Fool, which is very early, very fresh, naive, trusting, and away we go energy. And it goes all the way up through the world, which is very completion energy, whole, healed, holy. Then we also have the minor arcana, which resembles more of a traditional playing deck. So you have 4 suits, ace through 10, and then you have 4 court cards instead of 3. So you've got a page, a knight, a queen, and a king. Sometimes they might be prince and princess rather than page and knight. Sometimes they might be father, mother, son, and daughter. There are different decks that have sort of structure it differently, but generally you have those 4 court cards. They correspond to the people in your life or the characteristics of those cards within yourself. The number cards, the pip cards, kind of correspond to situations or experiences, but they also have a cyclical journey to them. So you have the 1 through the 10, and then we start back at the 1, right? So that cycle that we see in the major arcana is also reflected in the minor arcana. And our 4 suits are also corresponding to our 4 elements. So you have the Ace of Cups here. Our cups are our water. That's our feelings, our emotions, our intuition. And the ace is that first cup, right? It's a new beginning. But we're seeing this one, it's upside down. I don't know if you can tell.
Now I can see it. Now that I can see the words upside down. Okay.
And so there's a thing called reversals. And I like to read that. Some people like to see it as like the negative or the inverse of a card's meaning. But I think that each card holds the full spectrum of its meaning. So it can be positive. It could be negative. As anything, right? Too much of anything can kill you, right? Like, right? Like, but the inversion like this, I would say as it's either an internal expression of the card. So it's either like for yourself or it's something that needs to be dropped from your life. And in this case, I don't think it's something that needs to be dropped.
Okay.
Right? Because the Ace of Cups is all about filling your own cup, which you just said how many minutes ago? Right? When we were talking about how you can't, I can't go to work unless I want to, right? And like relating to that, the Ace of Cups is all about filling your own cup, filling it up. And when we flip it over to show, you can kind of see there are 2 beautiful doves there that we're filling this, like, they're lifting this cup and it looks as though it's overflowing and spilling out into the water below. And so to me, this is saying what will help you is filling your own cup.
I heard that. I can definitely that definitely resonate with me. Fill your own cup. I don't, because a lot of times I like what people sometimes they're looking for relationships. They feel as though the other person is going to excuse me, going to complete them. Right. And I'm so glad that I realized that when you enter relationships, it's not for someone to complete you, is for someone to add on to what you already have, the joy that you already are experiencing. So I'm hopefully that cup is overflowing because if there's someone who would come along, I would definitely expect them to add to already the happiness and the joy that I'm already experiencing. Yeah. And so this is saying like what will help you is just continuing to fill your own cup and like find the things that bring you joy and delight and invite more of them into your life. Yeah, that definitely. And this is a beautiful card as well. These are really pretty. All right. Shall we see what's going to hinder you? Yeah, I'm all about it. Bring it on. The 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups. So another cup, right? This is again our water, our feelings, our emotions, and our intuition. And the 8 is about, right, it's close to the end of that ace through 10 cycle that we talked about. But the Ace of Cups is a lot about walking away from the things that don't serve you. And I don't know if this is saying that there are things you need to walk away from. Or if you need to be more discerning with the things you walk away from.
Because to me, walking away from the things that don't serve you is not something that's going to hinder you. Right?
Yeah, well, I can see how work or it's pandemic where you don't really go out that often. There's certain things that do hinder finding someone. Yes,
absolutely. Definitely. But to say, like, this card says, if something isn't filling your cup, you need to walk away because it's draining you. Yeah. If it's not filling it, it's draining it. And so I don't know if it's saying like there's something you need to walk towards, maybe.
Okay. I can see that though, walking away from
like, maybe it's that walking away from things is what is hindering you and that you have to walk towards them.
Yeah. That resonates to me on a deep level. Yes. I can feel that.
How does that resonate?
Well, I spend a lot of time working. And I think that, which is good. I mean, I enjoy working.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it could be over. Sometimes I'm doing too much. I think sometimes I need to put my focus on sometimes a social life, which as of now, I mean, is very minimal.
Right, very difficult. Yeah,
during this period. So
we're in a pandemic and it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and why would you want to leave your house?
Exactly.
Where supposed to go.
Right. Exactly. And catch the corona. Right. So I can see there are certain activities that I definitely can walk away from. Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's the activities to walk away from, but like maybe think about how those activities make you feel. And it's like walking away from those feelings, because those would be, in that sense, activities that don't make you feel good. Right? Or that it's like a momentary sense of feeling good that dissipates very quickly.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's hitting something for you.
I think it's, I don't know. I think maybe sometimes I do feel like I'm not necessarily bored with certain aspects of being stuck in the house sometimes, but I think sometimes I do like want to do more outside of the house, but it's like, it's too much. What? Yeah, it's too much work trying to do all that, because then you got to, worry about, what's going on, who you want to make sick, will my schedule permit, all this with other things that are going on. So I think sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes, just trying to get out and do things, and also have the energy to do it, because I think that it can be just too intense sometimes. Like, okay, I want to do more things, but then when it's time to do it, like, why did I do that? Why did I schedule that?
Also, I think our stamina has changed. We've spent so much time inside for 2 years. Like, stamina is not what it was. Even social stamina, being around people, it feels different now. And that'll be different for an introvert, extrovert, and ambivert, right? Like,
and I'm an introvert.
I get that. I'm an omnivert. Like, I need bursts of being outside and like connecting to what's outside of me, but I also need long stretches of time with myself.
Yeah. I always say I know that I'm an introvert because I have to recharge alone, or with few number of people possible.
Yep.
And all my introvert friends, they're the opposite. They want to energize around as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I get that. So, yeah. So I think there are things that I really need to walk away from, and not just walk away from, but I think I need to do more in the gym. You know, I was having that feeling the other day. I'm like, I really need to get back into going to the gym. Mm-hmm. You know, my eating habits have just been tragic through this pandemic. Mm-hmm. You know, like whatever I can get in front of me. So I think, you know, maybe walking away from that burger and those fries, maybe a good idea.
Right. Or maybe like, you know, the second night in a row you walk away from the burger, but like you get to have the burger the first night. You know, it's like there can be ways for you to enjoy the thing and fill your cup up. Mm-hmm, have the burger you want to have. You know, but then like also making sure that like you're just moving your body. You know, I find that in the mornings that I get up and don't do yoga, I feel worse the next morning when I get up. But if I get up, and at 30 minutes is all I do anymore. 30 minutes of yoga every morning. That's it. And it doesn't even have to be like hard yoga. It's just moving my body and like getting the system doing, you know, feeling like the there's energy moving, right? Yeah. That momentum, that motion makes a world of difference. And then my body, it's like, it's such a gift to my body, because my body's like, oh, thank you. Now I can like move comfortably today.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely feel that. Exactly. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into it because, you know, and it was so funny because I've been like asking, like, I would love to work from home, and I would love to, you know, I would meditate so much more, and I would and then it's like when you finally, you know, circumstances show up where now you have to work from home, and you're like, I'm not doing any of the stuff that I said I would be doing.
But also working from home and like moving through the mental gymnastics of living through global trauma are like two different things, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, yes, there's something that has to be sacrificed, right? And but who knew you know,
I mean, at the beginning of this, everyone was talking about writing their novels, and like, it's like, you know what? No one in my house has killed anyone. So actually we're like, you know, we're all still here. That to me feels like a success, right? Like it can be that little of a thing.
Right. Well, I haven't caught COVID, so that's definitely a plus.
You are like, you know, have you seen that video? It's like it's playing the very last level of Super Mario Brothers, and it's like jumping over and the running back and forth, and like, cause you know, the fiery arms that like go in circles. And it's like everybody who hasn't caught COVID is like this expert Super Mario Brothers person, like not dying.
Yeah. So right. Is that?
We got one more card.
One more card. Okay.
Yeah. So this last one is, what is your unrealized or your untapped potential? Okay. And it's the sun.
Oh yeah,
this is a major arcana card.
Okay. Well, I know the sun is a good one.
Yeah, it is. So the sun is towards the end of the major arcana, and it's like stepping into your light. Okay. And again, we have this inverted, right? It's upside down. And so I think this is like something, there's like something about like shining your light from within. Okay. Like continuing to do that. I mean, it's what right? It's what you're doing with your podcast. It's what you're out here doing it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's like, the thing.
But it's like unrealized and untapped. Like you've just barely scratched the surface.
Well, I do feel like, you know, keeping in the mindset of the relationship thing, that, you know, maybe that's the thing that will attract the next person, will be, you know, my light, you know? Yeah.
But it's untapped. Like there's more work for you to do to be mining that light and to be brightening that light.
You're right about that. It is untapped.
This is the untapped potential. So this is the opportunity. Yeah. Just to keep spreading your light.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. That definitely resonates with me, because I do feel that there's a lot of things that I have not tapped into in terms of, creating this platform and moving it forward. So I'm as I was saying earlier about the sometimes the work gets to be very intense at times because I'm trying to get so much done. So to me that definitely speaks to this precursor phase that I'm in. So yes, that definitely resonates with me deeply.
I also wonder if it's like has something to say about diving into your shadows and like how much shadow, if there's like an invitation here, maybe to do some more shadow work with and for yourself, especially because it is inverted. So is the light something that needs to be dropped too? Because, or like, when we bring light to our shadows, like that's how we explore them.
Yeah, I've been looking at this. This will air in March, but February is a month that I've been looking at. African American history. So I invited all these African American authors who happen to be women during the month of February. Excellent. And each one of those women for the month of February, if you've been listening to the show, each author in the month of February had a story about forgiveness, someone they needed to forgive. And I really tapped into about me. I had to go back and sort of look at who I needed to forgive, because it was like, one of the authors said to me, she said, well, when someone causes an offense to you, and you feel there are some blockages going on, then probably she said it is always somebody you have not forgotten, how she put it. And I'm just like, well, I don't think anybody needs to forgive, but I'm always trying to forgive myself for something like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't make this, I made this promise to myself, I didn't keep it. And even this morning I was saying I forgiving myself for something that I didn't do.
Yeah, but that's also self-compassion. And that's how we practice having compassion for other people, by forgiving ourselves for, things that we might see as transgressions, but are actually just our system navigating that particular moment. Yeah.
So I'm definitely tapping into a place where I'm looking at the shadow self in a way that I never have before. It's not something that's like I treated someone mean or whatever. I don't do that. But I do find that it's not just about the action of treating someone unkind, but it's also you can have an unkind thought.
But that also, like, it's okay that happens as long as that's not where you sit and you stew and you right? That those things sort of move straight through you. And we don't sort of hang on to them.
Right. That's the place where I'm trying to go, because I'm a person who can hang on to it.
I get that one. I'm right there with you.
So I'm trying to let go. And then sometimes you forgive an offense and then it shows up in a more settled way than it did initially. So, forgiveness is not a one. Exactly. It shifts and it evolves. Yes.
Yeah. It's a practice like anything else.
Forgiveness is a practice. Yes.
I mean, and it's no different than you saying, like, you want to go to the gym a little more. You maybe want to clean up your eating habits, right? Like they're all a practice. It's just, how am I doing right now in this moment? Can I show up to do this right now in this moment?
Yeah, exactly. It's all a practice. True.
But check out these cards together. Wait, this is 3, but that was the first card, right? So I have to do this. I always get confused between Instagram and Zoom and all the different things.
Yeah, it shows it.
The mirrors.
Yeah. Exactly. It does that. But yes, exactly.
So these are your 3 together. We have your Ace of Cups saying that filling your own cup is really what's going to help you. And the Eight of Cups saying maybe walking away from something is what you need to do, but maybe it's walking towards something. And then your Sun, to shine your light. That's your untapped potential, your untapped superpower. Shining your light and maybe playing in your shadows, like we said.
Yeah, I know definitely that shadow work is something that is important. I had I'm always having spiritual conversations, which I love. But we were talking about the dark night of the soul. And it's so interesting that, that third card showed up when yesterday I was having a conversation. I was on a conference call and we were discussing the dark night of the soul. And, for that card to show up, definitely means, and also, thinking about the shadow self and reinvestigating that as well. It's interesting that card showed up too.
I just took a picture of them for you that I'm going to send to you when we wrap, so you can have and share it with your listeners so they can see what you were looking at too. If they're not going to get to see the video replay.
Yeah, so this will also be on YouTube, this conversation as well, in case you guys want to check the episode out and actually see the cards that was pulled on you can see it virtually. And yes, so if the audience or someone in the audience like to reach out to you to get a reading, how would they do that?
Yeah, so I hang out on the internet, mostly on Instagram. You can find me at Emily Ann, A-N-N-E, MCG. And that's my IG. My website is emilymcgillentertainment.com. Really long. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I want to have all this inside of the show description. So
of course that, but you put entertainment behind anything and those 10 letters or something like that. Makes everything long. But, Instagram is the easiest way to find me. You can find my website from there. My little Linktree thing is in there, which actually I learned a great lesson. Don't use Linktree. Don't spend the money. If you host your own website, you can create a link on your website that's like that's not on the menu. That's just a page that is your own Linktree. And then it's also branded the same as your website. You don't have to do the extra work again. And you just put that link in your Instagram. Yes. And
I think I have that at the top of my page and I didn't do it myself. I had someone else do it for me. Great. but because I just, as I gotten older, I used to be very technologically savvy. But as I got older, I'm like, just pay somebody else. Just delegate that to somebody else to do. Yep.
If it's not your thing, somebody will be happy to make some money doing it.
Yes. So, are there anything else you want to mention before we go?
No, this was lovely. I hope you enjoyed your tarot reading.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it so much. And anytime that I'm in New York, I definitely want to check you out and definitely visit the Snob.
Yeah, we haven't done Snob in a while just because of the gathering during the pandemic. And, with so many Broadway shows getting shut down because people had COVID, we didn't want to contribute to that. We wanted to make sure that everyone was staying as healthy as possible and not offering any kind of opportunities for super spreaders where, much of the community would want to come together. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, half the cast of Tina is out. No one's around for Hamilton, right? Like, we don't want that. So
right. Yeah, it's true.
So we haven't been hosting it lately, but we hope we'll get back up and running, maybe this summer when we can do stuff outside or something again.
Yes, well, you definitely have to come back on the show and talk more about that when things are up and running, because like I said, I like, when I'm ready to go out and do like stuff, when I'm in my extrovert mode, I definitely like to go out and do stuff and be around the party people, be around the extroverts.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely love to meet you in person and party right along with you, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, thank you for joining me on the show. And again, we'll have Emily's information in the show description, and definitely check us out on YouTube, this episode on YouTube, so you actually can see the actual card reading without just listening to it on the audio version of this podcast. I'll have the link in the show description, so you'll be able to just click a link and have it open up. So thank you for joining me for What's Up with DJ, and catch me next week for a new episode. Bye.